Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the B segment of episode 71 of Codename Kids Next Door, Operation 6. We begin this segment at Lime Ricky's bar, where we see a girl approach number 2, who is sitting with number 3 and number 6, aka R.O.B.O.B.R.A.D.L.E.Y. The girl reveals her name to be Mary Beth March. She says that today is her 10th birthday and the party is being held at the Yipper Youth Club Playtime Pizza Palace. Mary Beth also reveals that a friend of hers gave her a truck full of soda for the party, and she hears that number 2 has a track record of avoiding the soda control board. Mary Beth requests number 2's help in delivering the truck full of soda to the party. She says something along the lines about how it would be a shame to let all of that soda go to waste. Number 2 agrees to Mary Beth's request, and Mary Beth is grateful for number 2's willingness to help her out. Mary Beth also gives number 2 the key for the truck. The characters present, however, don't realize that someone is listening to their conversation. This individual has a hood covering their face right now, so we, the viewers, don't get a clear look at who this individual is exactly just yet. But this individual then goes to a different room and uses a vending machine communicator in order to video call Mr. Fizz. The hooded figure is revealed to be Lieutenant Seltzer. He's a teenager who is affiliated with the Soda Control Board. And Lieutenant Seltzer tells Mr. Fizz that Mr. Fizz was right to suspect that number 2 would accept the request to deliver the truck full of soda to the party. Mr. Fizz is pleased with this information because he admits that he's been trying to catch number 2 with soda for a long time now, since the Soda Control Board is all about stopping anyone under the age of 13 from drinking soda. So Mr. Fizz believes that this will be the chance he's been looking for, the chance to finally catch number 2 with soda. Back at Lime Ricky's bar, we see that number 2 is in a garage or storage area looking for the truck full of soda. Number 3 and number 6 are following number 2. Eventually, they do find the truck, and it has a rainbow monkey theme to it, much to number 3's excitement. Suddenly, Lieutenant Seltzer and some members of the Soda Control Board invade the garage or storage area to try and stop the Kids Next Door operatives before they even have a chance to get in the truck. Number 6 fights off the members of the Soda Control Board, while number 2 and number 3 try to get the truck started. Number 3 is at the steering wheel, and number 2 is using the power pack to try and improve the engine of the truck. The power pack is a 2x4 technology backpack which contains other 2x4 technology devices. The devices that we see at the moment are devices that help improve the technology of vehicles. Eventually, number 2 and number 3 do get the truck started, and then they manage to get the truck started, and while the truck is starting to drive off, number 6 manages to get on the truck. So number 2, number 3, and number 6 are all on the truck right now, and they're all on their way to the Yipper Youth Club. They're all on their way to the Yipper Youth Club Playtime Pizza Palace now. Number 2 also pulls out a device that's supposed to gauge carbonated levels. This is to keep track of the carbonated levels of the soda that's in the truck, or the storage part of the truck anyway. And number 2 makes a point to tell number 3 and number 6 that they need to make sure that the truck doesn't get shaken up too much, because that will cause the carbonated levels to rise. And if the carbonated levels do rise high enough, that could be very problematic for them, to say the least. So shortly after number 2 has set up this device, we see Mr. Fizz and more members of the soda control board are now chasing after the truck. They're in a giant soda tank. That's the best way I can think to describe this vehicle. And eventually, we see that Lieutenant Seltzer and some other members of the soda control board manage to catch up. And they're in a giant soda tank too, but this tank is on the opposite side of the road. So it looks like Mr. Fizz and Lieutenant Seltzer intend for these two tanks to try and trap the truck on the road. Mr. Fizz's tank also has a claw and intends to bring the truck up to the tank through this claw. But number 6 actually goes up ahead, or yes, number 6 exits the truck and he goes into the main control room of Mr. Fizz's tank in order to fight off Mr. Fizz and those members of the soda control board. Mr. Fizz, however, is immune to number 6's scent because, Mr. Fizz reveals that over the years of soda bubbles up his nose have caused Mr. Fizz to lose his sense of smell. So this actually gives him an advantage over the cybernetic skunk Kids Next Door operative. Despite Mr. Fizz having this advantage, number 6 still manages to distract. Yes, number 6 still manages to distract Mr. Fizz and those members of the soda control board long enough so that they don't realize that they're actually going to crash into the other tank, the tank that Lieutenant Seltzer is in. So the two soda tanks do crash into each other, and the truck is able to break free from the claw and continue down the road. However, Mr. Fizz, Lieutenant Seltzer, and these members of the soda control board are now in these soda-themed cars, and they're continuing to chase after number 2 and number 3. Number 2 manages to get the turbo device working. Yes, number 2 installed a turbo button so that the truck can go faster, and he's able to fix it because it was glitching at first, but now it's set to go. But number 3 doesn't want to leave number 6 behind. They haven't seen number 6 after the two tanks crashed into each other. Number 2 points out to number 3 that they don't have much time on their side, and he also insists that number 6 will be able to handle whatever obstacles come his way while they're pressed for time. Number 3, though, is still adamant that they don't leave number 6 behind. But since time isn't on their side, number 2 goes ahead and activates the turbo so that the truck will go faster. And we, the viewers, quickly do see that number 6 actually did make it onto the truck. Yes, number 6 is safe and he's on the truck, even if number 2 and number 3 don't realize it yet. Eventually, though, eventually the Kids Next Door operatives in the truck do see a Kids Next Door roadblock, and they think that it's to stop the soda control board, but they're not moving out of the way when number 2 and number 3 point out that it's just the truck, not the soda control board. But the problem is they can't pull over either and see what's going on because the brakes aren't working. So number 2 and number 3 have to warn the Kids Next Door operatives that the brakes aren't working, and they are able to get out of the way, and the truck ends up crashing through the roadblock. Number 2 and number 3 try to apologize, and then number 1 tries to contact them and tell them that they can't finish the delivery. Number 2 assures number 1 that they'll be able to get things under control again once they get the brakes working again. But number 1 tries to warn number 2 and number 3 that they don't understand what he's really trying to warn them, but the communication ends before he can reveal what this is exactly. So number 2 heads up to the roof of the truck while number 3 takes the steering wheel. Number 2 is going to use the power pack in order to release a parachute in order to slow down the truck. Yes, you could say that the parachute is a substitute for brakes, but it's meant to slow the truck down. And this is when number 2 sees number 6 is on the truck. He's hanging on the edge of the truck, and number 2 is going to help number 6 out. Yes, he's able to attach the power pack with the parachute to get ready, and he's about to help number 6 after that. But we quickly find out that Mr. Fizz still managed to board the roof of the truck despite the turbo power. And Mr. Fizz tries to, Mr. Fizz knocks number 2 to the side. Or yes, he tries to knock number 2 off of the roof of the truck, but number 2 is holding on and number 6 is holding on too. And Mr. Fizz is gloating about how he'll finally be able to stop number 2. Number 3, though, notices number 6 hanging on the edge of the truck, and number 3 is determined to help number 6 out. But because number 3 is now on the roof of the truck, that means no one is steering the truck right now. So the truck is about to... the truck is going out of control now that no one is at the steering wheel. And eventually, the truck closes in on the Yipper Youth Club Playtime Pizza Palace. However, the parachute does manage to activate from the power pack, so the truck is slowing down, and it does, the truck slows down just outside of the Yipper Youth Club Playtime Pizza Palace. Mary Beth March is going to greet them, but number 2, number 3, and number 6 tell Mary Beth that they need to hit the deck because the carbonated levels have escalated to... Yes, the carbonated levels have escalated to probably the greatest height that they can rise to. And they worry that the soda is going to explode in the truck. But when the storage part of the truck opens up, it's about to open up, and Mr. Fizz is gloating about how he's caught number 2 with soda, but number 2, number 3, number 6, and Mr. Fizz are all surprised when the soda doesn't actually explode in the storage area of the truck, because there is no soda in there. Yes, the storage area of the truck opens up, and we see a cake in there instead. Mary Beth apologizes to number 2 for deceiving him. She admits, though, that she really likes cake, and they promised her that she could have some of the cake if she agreed to deceive number 2. Yes, the delightful children from down the lane reveal themselves, and they thank number 2 for delivering their birthday cake to them, even if he didn't realize it. The delightful children say that knowing number 2 actually delivered this in spite of a Kids Next Door roadblock will make the cake taste that much more delicious. So the delightful children and Mary Beth enter an escape vehicle with the cake, and they head off into the sky. Number 1, number 4, number 5, and several other Kids Next Door operatives arrive trying to stop the delightful children, but they're too late. The delightful children have already escaped. Number 2 questions if number 1 was trying to warn them about how the truck was actually was storing the delightful children's cake rather than soda, and number 1 confirms this is the case. Number 2 figures that the delightful children are going to make good on their usual promise during their usual birthdays. Number 2 suspects that the delightful children are going to keep to their promise to not really share the birthday cake with anyone except the people that they promised could have some if they went along with their plans, like Mary Beth. And number 1 confirms, yep, that's the case. Number 2, though, tries to look on the bright side. He figures, well, they didn't get caught with any soda, at least. But number 3 arrives with some... number 3, I guess, went into the Pizza Palace, and then she comes out with a soda can, and Mr. Fizz is pleased with this, while number 1 and number 2 are just glaring at number 3. Next up is the end credits scene, and we see number 2 is drinking some soda at a counter. He's sitting at a counter and he's drinking some soda. And number 2 is commenting about how he was supposed to know that Mary Beth was deceiving him. How was he supposed to know that the truck actually had the delightful children's cake rather than soda? and he's talking to someone else, or he's sharing the events from this segment to someone else, and he appreciates that this other individual is a good listener and offers to get this individual some soda. But then number 2 realizes that this individual is Mr. Fizz. So number 2 runs off, and Mr. Fizz decides to take some soda. Or yes, Mr. Fizz decides not to chase after number 2 and just drinks some soda. And that's how we end this segment. So there you go. This segment, this segment features number 2, number 3, and number 6. Number 6 has made a return since last appearing in Season 3's Operation Hospital. And yeah, after the events of that segment, number 6, aka Bradley, had become a cyborg R.O.B.O.B.R.A.D.L.E.Y. And yes, we see that number 6 is still R.O.B.O.B.R.A.D.L.E.Y. And I don't think he has any cameos in any later entries, so yes, I believe this is number 6's last appearance in the series. But yes, it made sense that number 6 would appear in an entry with number 2 and number 3, since number 2 and number 3 were the ones that took number 6 in when they couldn't find number 6's biological parents. Yes, you could say that they are... Yeah, you could say number 2 and number 3 are like second parents to number 6. So it made sense that those 2 Sector V operatives would share the spotlight with number 6 in this entry. This entry also marks Mr. Fizz making a return in a prevalent role. He's had a few cameo appearances here or there, but yes, Operation Pop, his first appearance, and this segment were the ones where Mr. Fizz got to be the focus villain. And yes, because of that nature, because of the nature of this being Mr. Fizz's other focus villain appearance, you could argue that Operation 6 could be considered an indirect sequel to Operation Pop. And this segment and Operation Pop both highlight how Mr. Fizz could be considered one of number 2's archenemies. He does single out number 2 in particular among the Sector V operatives, or the Kids Next Door organization overall, when trying to stop anyone under the age of 13 from drinking soda. But the big twist for this segment is that this was actually another entry for the Caked saga. This was actually Caked 6. But yes, it makes sense that they just called it Operation 6 because they didn't want to give away the twist with Operation Caked. And I've seen some fans have speculated that maybe number 6's appearance here was also to trick people into thinking that the 6 in Operation 6 was a reference to number 6, R.O.B.O.B.R.A.D.L.E.Y, rather than 6 for Caked 6. But yes, I do remember when I first watched this segment, back when it first aired on TV, that did catch me by surprise. I did not expect this to actually be another Caked entry. And while I'm thinking about it, this is actually the only Caked entry that's a B segment story. The other Caked entries in the past were either A segments or they were full episodes. And yes, it was mentioned before in Operation Caked 5 that the delightful children celebrate their birthday 5 times a year. So because this is the 6th entry for the Caked saga, that means a whole year has passed since the first Operation Caked. So yeah, that was so that's another interesting detail. Yes, we know for certain now that a year has passed with regards to in-universe in the series itself. And I guess another detail worth mentioning for this Caked entry is that this is, I would say this is the only Caked entry where the delightful children receive a clear victory. Because yes, most of the time, the entries, in most of the previous Caked entries, there really weren't any actual winners per se. I guess you could argue Caked 2 was a clear victory for the Kids Next Door. But yeah, Caked 1, the Kids Next Door didn't get the cake, and the big bad adolescent attacked the delightful children because she doesn't like coconut flavor. Caked 3, the baby chicks were able to, yes, the baby chicks answered nature's calling on the cake. So, yeah, the delightful children ate the cake, but considering what the baby chicks did to it, yeah, that was not a victory in any way whatsoever. And then, of course, Caked 4 and Caked 5. Yeah, the kids next door didn't really get to actually have the cake. Well, actually, number 4 got to eat the cake in Caked 5 now that I think about it. But yeah, there wasn't really any other clear victories besides arguably Caked 2 for the kids next door. And this one, yes, the delightful children received a clear victory in Caked 6, or Operation 6. Yes, they received a clear victory in this one. And this is one of those examples of Codename Kids Next Door having the bad guys win or the good guys not winning. So, yeah, that was probably the big thing for Operation 6 was, yes, the surprise twist that this was actually an entry for the Caked Saga. And there is one more entry for the Caked Saga, and it's actually the series finale. Yes, the TV special that ends the series, that's going to feature another Caked entry. So you could say, like, a year since Operation Caked 2, given the way how the Delightful Children's birthday, yes, each member of the Delightful Children's respective birthdays, you could say the series finale takes place a year after Operation Caked 2. So, yes, I figured I should just bring that up now, but yes, we are going to get one more entry in the Caked Saga, and it's actually the end of the series itself. But, yeah, there we go. So, overall, yes, I thought this segment gave, yes, I liked how this segment gave number 2 and number 3 the spotlight. It was nice to see number 6 make a return. And yeah, I did like how this was an indirect sequel to Operation Pop, but it also had the surprise twist with regards to being an entry for the Caked Saga. And I was definitely surprised that they actually let the Delightful Children have a clear victory within the entries of the Caked Saga. But otherwise, yeah, I would say that's about it. This segment had some nice details to it, and it also had quite a bit of surprises to it too. But otherwise, I would say that's it for now. So as of this video, we've now discussed the B segment of episode 71 of Codename Kids Next Door on this channel. Take care, and until next time.